there is a new UAP Science Advisory Council, and Avi Loeb is running it. Now, Avi Loeb, we've had him on this show. He's been all over the place on you just as far as UAP information, talked a lot about 3i Atlas, all of that. This was announced yesterday, and it was kind of a big story, and people have been discussing it, and quite a lot of information has come out since this was announced. And the first one was indeed the announcement itself, which was UAP James, our buddy, breaking. White House tasks Avi Loeb to create a UAP Science Advisory Council with astrophysicists, AI experts, and human psychologists. The council will assist U.S. government agencies to include the ODNI, FBI, and ARROW in determining the nature of UAPs.
Fans pay so much attention that your ads stop disrupting and start existing.
All right, team, listen up. I've changed my mind.
Disclosure classified files, government dismissed his film Spielberg. On June 12, 2026, Steven Spielberg publicly released his film Disclosure Day, while on the same day, the US government disclosed the third batch of declassified files on unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAPs. This should also be the approach of a good scientist. Figuring out the nature of UAP deserves to be a mainstream scientific research program. Reality is under no obligation to bring us pleasure. The most down-to-earth interpretation of technological UAPs is that they are human-made. The inability of the intelligence agencies and the Pentagon to figure out their nature is a serious concern for national security. As I explained on Fox and Friends this morning, President Trump's directive to declassify UAP files is a blessing because it provides a reality check on whether there are holes in protecting strategic sites in the US against espionage by drones, balloons, or other gadgets developed by adversarial nations. Scientists and engineers need to develop better sensors and AI analysis tools to help the Pentagon in its mission. If, after analyzing new data on millions of objects, we will find beyond a reasonable doubt that one of them has a non-human technological origin, that would constitute the biggest scientific discovery ever made by humanity. The latest UAP file release includes a new report dated June 5th, 2026, signed by Dr. John Kozlowski, the director of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, ARROW, in the Pentagon.
Okay, so Avi Loeb making the announcement, out there doing more research, and that's what he does. Look, he's a very smart guy. He's been out there doing these things. The question is, what is his organization going to do? Are they going to be working with the UAP task force? How does that work overall? What's different from them and Arrow? What's different from them and, like, say, Project Blue Book? What's the difference there, and how do we know that it is any different than any of these other previous ones that don't really tell us anything and just kind of give us the runaround? Ross Coulthart was kind of asked that question and had an answer about it. So let's take a look at what he had to say about this.
The new UAP Science Advisory Council. Just for our viewers at home, this is a research team of scientists who work alongside the U.S. government. It's led by one of our regular guests, one of your colleagues as well, Professor Avi Loeb. How will this change things? Will we see more transparency? Will we see more information come out?
Well, a lot of that hangs on the powers that that advisory council is given. At the moment, there's no suggestion that they're going to be given any teeth, any powers of subpoena. I don't doubt for a moment the good motives of Professor Avi Loeb, who's a formidably good investigator and a wonderful scientist, but we just hope it's not another Project Blue Book, where, frankly, the government consistently lied and misled the public.
Okay, so he says kind of the same thing. You know, it's like, look, Avi Loeb, friend, good scientists, but the question is, are they just going to be an adversary for the people who want to keep this thing quiet, like other organizations in the past, are kind of telling us nonsense? But it's the other thing he said is, what kind of teeth are they going to have? What kind of powers are they going to have? Are they going to be able to actually get out there and subpoena people? Are they going to actually be? Remember that Avi Loeb also said that he has materials from the ocean that he got that he believes are non-human. So those types of things, is he going to be given more power and more opportunity to speak up and other things of that nature? That's a question. So here's a little bit more detail on it. So Christopher Sharp writes, so at first we thought it was one UAP Science Advisory Council, but it's actually a UFO board supported by several advisory groups, one of which seems to be the Science Council. Michael Schellenberger follows it up and says, Avi Loeb just confirmed to me on the phone that his UAP advisory board will not have access to any classified information and has no legal authority. So there's that answer from Ross Colhart, what he was asking. Now, if you look at the U.S. government establishing new governance board to coordinate investigations and declassification, the U.S. government established a new body to coordinate UAP investigations, improve the collection and analysis of relevant data, and assist with the declassification of UAP-related information, according to an official from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. To support the President's directive on UAP transparency, ODNI, alongside with FBI and the DOW, established a UAP governance board to provide guidance, recommendations, and coordination at the interagency level, bringing together military, law enforcement, the intelligence community, and other civilian agencies. Official told Liberation Times that the UAP Governance Board met for the first time yesterday. Liberation Time understands that the UAP Governance Board is supported by several advisory groups with expertise outside the U.S. government. The stated mission of the Governance Board, as detailed in the board's charter, is as follows. The mission of the GB is to serve as an interagency body that can use each member's capabilities and unique authorities to cohesively address national security threats posed by UAP. The GB will also integrate and optimize interagency processes involved in the investigation of UAP incidents and collection procedures used to analyze UAP data to ensure more effective support to the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. The GB will assist in the timely coordination of declassification of UAP-related information in accordance with Executive Order 13526, Classified National Security Information. 2 days ago, Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb announced that he was tasked by the White House, AARO, ODNI, the FBI, and the intelligence community to lead and assemble a team of scientists and experts to establish a new UAP Science Advisory Council. Liberation Times understands that the UAP Science Advisory Council is among several groups of outside experts supporting the UAP Governance Board. All right, tons of information that we're running through as we're going through this video, right? So, as Ross Colhart was saying, how much are they going to have, and then how much power are they going to have? This particular group that Avi Loeb is running, the answer is no power at all, as Schellenberger says, as he got the confirmation. They don't have any confirmation, or they don't have any classified access. They don't have any of that. They're just going to basically be the science board of this thing. If the people who are finding things and do have that access say, hey, we need the scientists to look at it, which is not a bad thing to have a whole bunch of different groups, and they're taking it serious. And it seems like there are a bunch of different groups that are going through this and saying, okay, we have these people, we have these people. If we find something here, give it to the scientists. Let the scientists look at it. Scientists aren't running this thing. So they're just a branch of this particular board. Again, great. What does it all mean? Could mean a big fat goose egg if nothing else really comes through. Unless they got to find who does have the power, right? Who does have the power of subpoena, and who can get more information out there? Because I feel like the stuff that David Grush has been saying over the last couple of days has been very powerful. But once again, we're in the same position that we were back in 2023. Grush can't be the only one. He can't be. He's respected. People in this community really hang on every word that he says. And he's out there really doing things that people probably told him that he shouldn't, and he's putting himself at risk and his career and his maybe his life and other things too. And as he mentioned in the video that we did yesterday, the amount of he's had friends that he does that are no longer with us anymore, that are shady circumstances. So there's got to be other people, and maybe that's the whole point, is that the scare tactics have always been a part of it, right? So whether it's Grush's friend, the scientists, other people are not here anymore because of things that they were working on, whether or not it's information about alien beings or whatever, or maybe it's information about technology of anti-gravity and all these other things. I have a separate show, and it just shows you there's still a lot of the public that doesn't really pay attention to this all the time and are asking a lot of the same questions that people are asking years ago, and the traditional questions that come with it when you're not paying attention to it. I even saw it in that report from Grush. We'll start with that. When Grush was on, and then I watched a little bit afterwards of the reporters that were talking, and they were given the same kind of mundane. Two of them were people who were actually paid attention to the topic, understood it, learned a little bit more about it with asking questions, and the other ones were people who probably casually heard about it, don't want to really be bothered by it, so they say the same thing. Oh, it's technology from another country. That's what it is. And it's like, we've already established that that's probably not the case. And if it was, that's even a bigger problem, that these things continuously are shifting over here. So that's the one answer. The other one is how does it crash if they're so advanced? And then the other reporter was basically agreeing with the first woman. It's like, oh, it just is probably other technology, and it's just answers that we've heard that kind of come with a playbook almost, or people who are just not informed with it. And then going back to my my other show, when we were talking about Disclosure Day and people were discussing it and the conversation coming up, and a few people, a really loyal viewer of mine on the other channel asked, listen, I'm not really into the topic, but my question is, how come the U.S. is the only one that ever talks about this? And it's not the case at all. And then there was another guy who said something along the lines like, it's hard for me to believe that light travel, they have light years, and then they're crashing their ships. And it's like, I don't believe that in light travel. I don't think in space travel. I don't think that's what this is. I think that there's more to quantum physics. I think there's more to space time and be able to certain technologies and other things. And we can get down a rabbit hole too. Is I don't necessarily know if we were the first people, we were the first living beings here. I don't know if we were here first. We've never explored the ocean all the way through. We're a very arrogant species that would think that it's us. It's all we see. We're the ones that's been here forever. How the hell do we know that? So there's a lot of information still out there that people could know, should know, but the fact that you have this group that is now looking into it, are they actually taking it serious, or is it a show? Because the thing that still rubbed me the wrong way was when they were talking a couple of weeks ago when they were talking about the site or whatever it was, and President Trump was like, I didn't think anybody was going to even care about this. But then, it's one of the most visited sites of all time, and it's always about the ratings, it's always about the views, it's always about this. Oh, now people care. So it should be about getting to the bottom of it and really letting the information out there, not about, it's popular, let's do it. And that's what he does. It's what he's always done. Ratings, views, who's the most popular, who's got the biggest audience, all that. And that's not what this should be for this topic. So I don't know. The good news is, because of the views and because so many people want to know about it, maybe they do put the resources into it. And maybe because of the ego that's involved, because I always said that it would make sense if he was the one that disclosed, because he would always want to be remembered as the president that did it. And I think that you can use the ego in that aspect for the possibility that it could happen because of that particular thing. I don't know. But Avi Loeb being part of it, what is he? He's not going to be in an island anymore. Is there going to be more of these things where people are actually working together to find it? Are the people, the gatekeepers, are they getting nervous? That's the biggest question. Are the gatekeepers getting nervous? Or they've just been down this road so many times over the last 70, 80 years that they always find a way through it, and they always find the loopholes, and they always find there's just something that they know it'll just never get past a certain level. I'm just so curious. You're never gonna know this, but like, what are those real conversations like? That would be kind of one of the things. Like, I liked Disclosure Day probably more than you did, right? But I also, and I had this conversation, my buddy Pavel, he was doing a stream the other day, and I chimed in about it. I've talked to other people. I've seen people inside of this community, And maybe rightfully so. I don't know. But they looked at this movie because what I said about the film Disclosure Day, I said, and I still stand by this, and I think it has been, Disclosure Day, the movie, is going to be good for PR for the UFO topic, because when Spielberg's talking about it and saying he believes in aliens and saying these things, that more people will join in on the conversation itself. Now, I did say that I hoped that the movie would be a little bit more like The Post and have a little bit more of like real things that have happened and cheating that Disclosure Day almost like a Grush type story. And that wasn't the case. It was a Spielberg story with little Easter eggs sprinkled within it. I noticed that was the movie. It was going to be pretty early. So I just said this is a Spielberg movie, and as a Spielberg movie, I enjoyed it thoroughly. There are a lot of people who didn't like the movie because they didn't think that it did anything for the conversation, that it seemed dated, these other things, and I don't know. But I do think that it overall, I think that it is absolutely a stepping point to the next movie, which again could be the Kaczynski movie with Grush, and more conversations could get started. But a lot of conversations are happening now. A lot of conversations. We'll see where it goes. But what do you guys think about this new board? What else is the board going to do? What kind of powers will they have, if any at all? Will this be the crew that makes UAP whistleblowers actually get protection? What say you? Put your thoughts in there. Let me know. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it very much so. And I'll see you tomorrow. We spend a lot of time looking at things that we just can't explain. But some of the most unexplained phenomenon happen a lot closer to home, and that's inside your head. A thought can appear out of nowhere. It's something dark, disturbing, completely out of character. You didn't ask for it. You don't want it. And no matter what you try to do to get rid of it, it just keeps coming back. For millions of people, that experience is not just anxiety or a bad day. It can actually be OCD. It's not the organizing stereotype. Real OCD, it's persistent, it's unwanted, intrusive thoughts that feel totally out of character, along with mental or physical behaviors you feel driven to get relief. These thoughts can feel very real, which is what makes them so upsetting. But it doesn't have to be that way, because OCD, it's highly treatable with the right kind of specialized therapy. OCD needs ERP or exposure and responsive prevention, which is proven to be the most effective treatment. And that's where NoCD comes in. NoCD is the world's leading provider of OCD treatment, and it's covered by insurance for over 138 million Americans. All their licensed therapists specialize in ERP therapy and will help you learn to take the power away from intrusive thoughts in live, face-to-face virtual sessions. They also provide support between sessions when you need it the most, so you're never facing OCD alone. If any of this sounds familiar, visit NOCD.com to book a free 15-minute call. That is NOCD.com. NoCD. Make sure you go and check it out.